And in that quiet moment, when his eyes meet yours, the truth is undeniable. You are not the same. You've grown, you've learned, you've risen, and the power he once had over you, it no longer exists, because the woman he left behind never existed. The woman before him now is unstoppable. Change never arrives with fanfare. It doesn't parade down the street announcing its presence, nor does it ring a bell to alert the world. True transformation happens quietly, in the shadows, in moments that go unnoticed. It happens in the silence of your own mind when you decide that enough is enough. It happens when you stop asking for permission to be yourself and start demanding space for your own growth. He doesn't notice this at first because it is subtle. It is woven into your habits, your thoughts, and your actions, so much so that even you might forget the journey until you look back and see how far you've come. And that's the paradox of transformation. It's invisible until it can't be ignored. The first signs of this transformation are not obvious to anyone except you. It is in the little things, the way your mornings feel purposeful, the way your goals start to align with your inner truth instead of his expectations, the way you refuse to settle for less than what you deserve. While he might have assumed that you were the same person he once knew, the reality is that you've quietly been reshaping yourself from the inside out. Your mind has grown sharper, your perspective broader, and your heart wiser. You carry these changes like a secret strength, a silent power that radiates without you needing to announce it. And when he finally notices, it is as if a veil has lifted. He suddenly realizes that the woman he thought he knew no longer exists. This transformation is often born from struggle. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every betrayal has become fuel for your evolution. You've taken pain and turned it into lessons. You've faced moments that could have broken you, but instead they became the very foundation of your resilience. And in those moments when you were alone, questioning your path, doubting your worth, and battling the echoes of his influence, you chose to rise. You chose to cultivate patience, clarity, and self-respect. Transformation is not instantaneous. It is forged in the quiet, unseen hours when no one is watching, when the world believes you are still the same person. He begins to see glimpses of this change in your actions. The way you speak with conviction, the way you laugh freely without seeking his approval, the way your gaze no longer wavers under his scrutiny. These are subtle, almost imperceptible signs to anyone else, but to him they are revelations. What he thought he had shaped, molded, or controlled no longer responds to him. You have grown in ways that are not only invisible, but irreversible. He can sense it in the way you carry yourself, the energy that surrounds you, and the decisions you now make with confidence rather than hesitation. And in this moment of realization, he is confronted with the undeniable truth. The woman before him is not the one he once knew. Ultimately, transformation is about ownership of self. It is the reclaiming of identity, of power, of purpose that once may have been clouded by his presence. It is the quiet, persistent work of becoming someone who honors her own worth, someone whose life is no longer defined by the past or by the expectations of others. And when he finally sees it, it is shocking because it is absolute. The woman who exists now is whole, unshakable, and self-directed. She moves through life with an assurance that cannot be undone, and the realization hits him like a quiet storm. She is not the same woman anymore, and she will never be the same woman again. Confidence is more than a feeling. It is a shield, an invisible armor that protects the woman who has endured, learned, and grown. It is not loud, it is not flashy, but it is unmistakable to anyone who crosses your path. Confidence does not seek validation. It radiates from a place of self-assuredness. He begins to notice it, not in grand gestures, but in subtle ways. The way you enter a room with your head held high, the way your words are deliberate and measured, the way your silence carries as much weight as your speech. This is the armor of experience, of self-respect, of someone who has fought battles unseen and emerged victorious. Confidence shields you from manipulation, doubt, and fear, making it impossible for anyone to hold sway over you the way they once did. The roots of confidence are deep, nourished by the lessons of the past. Each failure, each heartbreak, each moment of betrayal has contributed to an unshakable foundation. You have learned that your worth is not determined by others' opinions, and that your voice has power even when it trembles. Confidence does not erase vulnerability. Instead, it embraces it, turning it into a source of strength. He may be startled by this shift, because the woman he once influenced is now unyielding in her sense of self. She no longer adjusts her choices to please him or anyone else. Her decisions come from a place of clarity and self-respect, and this, more than anything, challenges the illusion of control he once believed he had over you. Confidence manifests in every interaction. It is in the way you speak without hesitation, in the way you refuse to shrink to make others comfortable. He notices it in your laughter, free and uncontained, no longer filtered through the lens of his expectations. It is in the subtle strength of your gaze, the calm power behind your gestures, the steadiness of your presence. What he finds unsettling is that your confidence is not a temporary performance. It is a part of your identity. It is not something you put on to impress him or prove a point. It is an intrinsic part of the woman you have become, and that is a revelation he cannot ignore, because it confronts the reality that you are no longer bound by his influence or perception. Confidence also becomes a form of liberation. It allows you to pursue your dreams without fear, to express your thoughts without hesitation, to embrace opportunities without doubt. You no longer measure your worth against his approval or anyone else's expectations. Your power comes from within, and it cannot be borrowed, bought, or borrowed from him. This is the freedom he sees now. The woman who once may have sought guidance or reassurance from him now moves through life independently, unshaken by judgment or criticism. That independence, rooted in confidence, is intimidating because it reveals the distance he has lost. The control, the familiarity, the sense of influence he once assumed was permanent. Another dimension of confidence is resilience. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the courage to face adversity head on, knowing that you have survived before and can survive again. The woman he encounters now has faced challenges that would have broken someone else, and she has emerged not only unscathed but stronger. He senses it in your demeanor, in the unspoken conviction that you will never allow anyone to diminish your spirit again. Confidence is a quiet roar. It doesn't demand attention, yet it commands it. And when he realizes that this is your natural state, that it is not performative but fundamental, he understands that he is witnessing someone transformed beyond recognition. Finally, confidence is magnetic. It draws respect, admiration, and even envy. Others are drawn to your energy because it is authentic, unwavering, and inspiring. He notices the way people listen when you speak, the way your ideas hold weight, the way your presence alters the room without a word. That is the ultimate power of confidence. It is self-sustaining and undeniable. He sees the woman before him and realizes she has grown into someone unstoppable, someone who no longer needs his validation, approval, or permission. In this, confidence becomes armor, freedom, and identity all at once. It is the shield that protects you, the force that empowers you, and the truth that he cannot unsee. You are no longer the woman he thought he knew. Boundaries are not walls. They are declarations of self-respect, markers of value, and instruments of empowerment. A woman who has grown understands that she is not responsible for anyone else's comfort at the expense of her own well-being. Every boundary she sets communicates one clear truth. Her time, energy, and heart are precious, and they will not be wasted. He begins to notice these boundaries only when he realizes that the levers of control he once pulled no longer work. The woman he knew would bend, adjust, and compromise to keep him comfortable. The woman before him now moves through life on her own terms, and this is the first shock to his perception. He assumed she could be influenced, but now she defines the terms of engagement herself. Boundaries are born from experience. They are learned lessons, etched into the soul through hardship, betrayal, and the quiet reflections of solitude. Each no spoken, each line drawn, and each choice made for self-preservation is a brick in the foundation of a stronger self. He begins to see it in the way you communicate, not harshly but firmly. Your words carry conviction, your decisions reflect clarity. These boundaries are not just rules for him to follow. They are a reflection of the respect you have cultivated for yourself. And with each boundary he encounters, he feels the distance growing between the woman he thought he knew and the woman she has become. The beauty of boundaries lies in their power to redefine relationships. They are not punishments, nor are they intended to alienate. They are an invitation to recognize your value. He may try to push, test, or negotiate, but the strength of your boundaries is unyielding. They serve as a mirror, showing him exactly how much you have grown. He sees that your relationships are no longer defined by what others want from you, but by what you require to protect your peace, your dignity, and your growth. Boundaries illuminate your evolution. They are visible signs of your self-mastery, and they leave him grappling with the reality that the dynamics have shifted irreversibly. Boundaries also teach independence. They are the framework within which a woman claims her autonomy, refusing to allow anyone to dictate her choices or compromise her dreams. The man who once influenced her decisions now realizes that she is fully capable of steering her own course. She no longer seeks approval, validation, or permission from him, and that independence is both liberating and intimidating. He sees the way she navigates life with autonomy and realizes that the woman he left behind is gone. She no longer bends to fit into his expectations. She stands tall, anchored in her own principles, and that truth cannot be ignored. Furthermore, boundaries redefine power dynamics. Power is no longer derived from manipulation, persuasion, or emotional leverage. It flows from clarity, self-respect, and unshakable resolve. He notices the shift in energy, the way you calmly assert your needs, the way your presence commands respect without demanding it, the way your choices are deliberate rather than reactive. What once gave him influence now gives him perspective. He sees a woman who has mastered herself, who refuses to surrender her integrity for convenience or fear. That realization is subtle at first, but it grows into a profound awareness that she is no longer someone he can shape or control. Boundaries also cultivate self-love. By defining what is acceptable and what is not, you communicate to yourself and to others that you value your own happiness above external approval. He observes this in your actions, how you prioritize your well-being, how you protect your time, and how you refuse to compromise your principles for comfort. This self-love radiates outward, creating a presence that is magnetic yet untouchable. He realizes that the woman before him is not dependent on his recognition. Her sense of worth is complete, grounded in herself, and that realization is both humbling and disarming. Finally, boundaries are a testament to growth. They reflect the journey from compromise to conviction, from passivity to assertiveness, from uncertainty to self-assurance. Every boundary you maintain, every choice you make, every line you refuse to cross is a declaration of the woman you have become. He sees it, perhaps for the first time, in the way you handle confrontation, in the calm with which you protect your peace, in the quiet authority with which you navigate life. And in that realization, he understands a hard truth. The woman he knew, the one shaped by expectation, influence, or control, is no longer here. She has been replaced by someone unyielding, self-directed, and unstoppable. Self-worth is the quiet revolution that changes everything. For years, the woman he knew may have measured her value by his opinions, by the approval she sought from him, or by the subtle validations she chased in others. But growth teaches a profound truth. No one can give you the value that you claim for yourself. Self-worth is not borrowed, earned from another, or conditional. It is inherent. The woman he encounters now carries this truth with her in every step, every glance, every decision. Her confidence, her presence, her choices are no longer dictated by him or anyone else, and that realization shakes the foundations of his perception. He sees it in the calm certainty of her voice, the unwavering steadiness in her gaze, and the unspoken declaration in the way she moves through the world. Validation from others may have once seemed essential, but she has learned that it is a fleeting, unreliable measure. True worth does not fluctuate based on who notices you or who praises you. It is constant, anchored in your own recognition of your value. She has faced rejection, betrayal, and disappointment, and yet she has emerged with an unshakable sense of self. When he sees this, he begins to understand the gap between the woman he thought he knew and the woman before him. He may try to recall the ways he influenced her decisions, the moments he believed he mattered, but none of it defines her anymore. Her worth is hers alone, untouchable by external judgment, and undeniable to anyone who encounters her energy. Self-worth is also reflected in boundaries and choices. A woman who understands her value no longer tolerates disrespect, manipulation, or diminishing behavior. She does not chase attention or bend to please. She chooses alignment with people, opportunities, and experiences that honor her growth. He notices it in subtle ways, how she refuses to compromise on her principles, how she walks away from situations that no longer serve her, how she navigates relationships with intentionality rather than expectation. This is not arrogance, it is clarity. He realizes, sometimes with disbelief, that the woman before him no longer needs his affirmation because she has cultivated a life where she affirms herself. The evolution of self-worth also transforms her inner dialogue. She no longer questions her choices second, guesses her instincts, or seeks reassurance from him or anyone else. Every decision is rooted in her understanding of her own value. He sees a woman who does not tremble for his approval, who does not shrink to fit his comfort, and who does not measure her achievements against his standards. Her self-recognition is complete, and it radiates in a way that commands respect without demanding it. The energy is undeniable. She is the author of her own story, the arbiter of her own value, and the center of her own universe. Self-worth empowers freedom. The woman he now faces is free from the constraints of past expectations, free from the need to justify herself, free from the influence he once held over her. She no longer carries the weight of his opinions. She no longer seeks to please, manipulate, or conform to gain favor. That freedom is intoxicating, both to witness and to reckon with. He sees that she operates from a place of autonomy and confidence, a place that cannot be altered by his presence or absence. The realization that she is self-sufficient, self-empowered, and self-respecting hits him like a quiet storm, one that leaves no room for nostalgia, manipulation, or control. The impact of self-worth extends beyond herself. It influences every interaction, every relationship, every opportunity. She attracts respect naturally because she carries herself with integrity and authenticity. He sees the admiration she commands not because she seeks it, but because it is a reflection of the strength, clarity, and confidence she embodies. Her worth becomes a standard, a measure of how others should treat her, and a reminder that she will no longer settle for less. The woman before him is magnetic, but she is not accessible in the way she once may have been. She is no longer defined by his perception or anyone else's. Ultimately, self-worth outshines any validation he could have offered. It transforms the way she sees herself and the way the world sees her. It is the lens through which every challenge, every triumph, and every choice is filtered. He realizes that the woman he once influenced, the woman he believed he knew, is gone. She has become someone whose power, clarity, and value are rooted entirely in herself. And in that recognition, he sees the unmistakable truth. She is whole, she is independent, and she is no longer defined by anyone else. Resilience is the quiet power that cannot be faked or borrowed. It is forged in the fires of adversity, in the moments when life seems determined to break you, and in the nights when doubt threatens to consume you. The woman he once underestimated now carries that power within her like a force of nature. Every hardship she has endured, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the challenges he never saw, has strengthened her, sharpened her mind, and clarified her purpose. He may have assumed she would crumble under pressure, but what he witnesses now is something entirely different. A woman who bends but does not break, who absorbs pain and converts it into unshakable strength. Resilience is born from choice. It is the deliberate decision to stand up after failure, to move forward when the weight of disappointment feels unbearable, and to refuse to let setbacks define your narrative. She has faced moments when the world seemed against her, moments when giving up might have been easier, yet she chose perseverance instead. This choice, repeated over and over, has shaped her into someone who does not fear challenges, who confronts life with determination, and who refuses to be intimidated by the obstacles others might consider insurmountable. He sees this in her posture, in the confidence with which she handles difficult situations, and in the calm strength that radiates from her every decision. Resilience is also reflected in emotional mastery. She has experienced betrayal, rejection, and disappointment, yet she has not allowed these experiences to harden her heart or diminish her capacity for love and compassion. She has learned to carry wisdom without bitterness, strength without arrogance, and determination without cruelty. When he observes her, he realizes that her strength is not loud or aggressive. It is steady, grounded, and intentional. He sees that she has developed the rare ability to endure without losing herself, to rise without resentment, and to thrive without needing approval. That is resilience, unmistakable, undeniable, and profoundly intimidating to someone who once thought they had influence over her. Every challenge she has faced has been a lesson, a stepping stone, a proving ground. Life has tested her, pushed her, and even tried to define her limitations. But each time, she has emerged not only stronger but more self-aware, more capable, and more unshakable. He notices it in the way she navigates setbacks today, with clarity rather than panic, with strategy rather than desperation, and with faith in her ability to overcome whatever comes next. This is not luck or coincidence. It is the result of intentional growth, perseverance, and relentless commitment to herself. And it is precisely this resilience that sets her apart, that defines her evolution, and that leaves him realizing he underestimated the depths of her strength. Resilience also manifests in her ability to reclaim her life. She no longer waits for others to repair what was broken or validate what was lost. Instead, she takes ownership, rebuilds, and thrives on her own terms. He sees that she has transformed adversity into opportunity, pain into wisdom, and setbacks into momentum. Each obstacle she encounters becomes another chance to prove her capability, to assert her independence, and to reinforce the truth that she is untouchable by external limitations. He is confronted with a reality he did not anticipate. She is not merely surviving. She is flourishing, and she does so entirely on her own terms. The woman's resilience becomes a force of attraction and inspiration. Others notice it too, the way she handles difficulty with grace, the way she recovers without apology, the way she moves through life unshaken. Her strength becomes contagious, a silent challenge to anyone who doubts her or attempts to undermine her. He realizes that the woman before him is no longer defined by fear, hesitation, or the expectations of others. She is self-reliant, confident, and powerful in ways he never imagined. Her resilience is unmistakable because it is visible in every choice, every action, and every interaction. Ultimately, resilience is the proof of her transformation. It is the evidence that the woman he thought he knew, the one he believed he could influence, shape, or control, is gone. In her place stands someone who has endured the storms of life and emerged stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. He sees in her not vulnerability but mastery, not weakness but power, not doubt but certainty. And in that realization, he is forced to acknowledge what is undeniable. Her resilience is not a temporary state. It is the essence of who she has become, the unshakable core of the woman he now faces. Presence is the quiet, magnetic force that announces power without a word. It is the energy a woman carries when she has fully claimed herself, when her life, her choices, and her growth radiate from within. The woman he once knew may have blended into the background, adjusting to his expectations and accommodating his whims. But now, the woman before him commands attention simply by existing in her truth. Her presence is undeniable, not because it demands recognition, but because it reflects the authority, confidence, and self-respect she has cultivated over time. He notices it immediately, the way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself without apology. It is a force he cannot manipulate or control, and that is the true power of presence. Presence begins with self-awareness. She knows who she is, what she stands for, and the value she brings to every room, every conversation, and every interaction. This awareness is subtle, yet profoundly impactful. It is visible in the way she maintains composure under pressure, the way she handles confrontation with grace, and the way she commands respect without asserting dominance. He notices the shift. The woman who once may have sought his validation now exists fully in her own power. She does not need to prove herself. Her presence alone makes her influence felt, and he cannot ignore it. Presence is amplified by confidence. A woman who has learned her worth does not need to shout to be heard. She simply moves through life in a way that draws attention naturally. People respond to her energy because it is authentic, grounded, and unwavering. He sees the subtle power in her interactions, the way her opinions carry weight, the way her laughter fills a room without seeking permission, the way her gaze holds authority without intimidation. Her presence is not performative, it is organic, born from years of self-discovery, resilience, and growth. And for him, the realization is unsettling. He is witnessing someone he can no longer influence, someone who exists independently of his recognition or approval. Presence also communicates boundaries without words. When a woman owns her space, protects her energy, and moves through life intentionally, her presence becomes a statement in itself. He notices how she interacts with others, not subserviently, not aggressively, but with balance, poise, and clarity. Her presence tells the world she will not tolerate manipulation, that her time and energy are valuable, and that her influence is not to be underestimated. This invisible force leaves an impression stronger than any conversation, because it is lived and embodied rather than declared. He cannot ignore it. It is impossible to dismiss. Moreover, presence is enhanced by authenticity. She no longer conforms to expectations or masks her true self to appease others. Her authenticity is magnetic. It commands attention, inspires respect, and draws people toward her naturally. He sees the difference immediately. The woman before him is genuine, unshakable, and unapologetically herself. Every gesture, every expression, every decision reflects her integrity and clarity. Her presence is a testament to her evolution, a visible sign of the woman she has become, and it leaves him with no choice but to recognize that she is no longer the same person he once knew. Presence also inspires influence. People notice when someone moves with intention, when someone's energy radiates confidence, when someone commands a room without seeking approval. Her presence has an effect, not through words, but through the aura she carries, the quiet strength she projects, and the authenticity she embodies. He realizes that the woman before him is a force in her own right, capable of shaping environments, influencing outcomes, and leading without control or coercion. This is the culmination of her growth. Her presence has become her power, and her power is undeniable. Ultimately, presence is the sum of every choice, every struggle, every lesson learned, and every ounce of self-respect she has cultivated. It is the visible proof of transformation, the unspoken declaration that she is no longer the person he thought he knew. She moves through the world as a complete, confident, resilient woman, and her presence commands attention because it reflects the truth of who she has become. For him, this realization is profound and unavoidable. The woman before him is not only different, she is unstoppable. Her presence is the final confirmation that she has fully claimed her identity, her power, and her life, and there is no going back. And now, when he looks at you, He sees the truth he could never control, the strength he could never break, and the power he could never contain. He realizes that the woman he once knew no longer exists, and in her place stands someone unshakable, unstoppable, and fully herself. You've grown, you've risen, and you've claimed your life on your own terms. And that above all else is what he can never take away, because the woman before him now is whole, fearless, and untouchable.